Welcome to the Field Notes podcast, presented by Seaworthy Functional Medicine. Seaworthy exists to help you overcome your complex health challenges, so you can be fully vital. Now, here's your host, Heather Moon.
Today's conversation sits right at the intersection of movement and medicine. In functional medicine, we often talk about root causes, systems biology, and personalized care. But none of that matters if we don't also honor one of the most powerful and accessible tools that we have, and that's how we move our bodies. Not as a punishment and not as a checkbox, but as a signal, and one that shapes metabolism, hormones, resilience, and even the way we experience our lives. That's why I'm especially excited for today's guest, a personal trainer and a return guest to the podcast, who brings a thoughtful and whole person approach to fitness. This isn't just about reps and routines. It's about understanding the body, meeting it where it is, and building strength in a way that's sustainable, intelligent, and deeply connected to overall health. Whether you're navigating fatigue, rebuilding after a burnout, or simply trying to feel stronger in your own skin, this conversation will give you a new lens on what fitness can look like when it's aligned with your biology and not fighting it. I welcome the audience, who I'm so thankful are here today, and I would like to welcome you, Heidi, back to the podcast. This time with me. The first time you interviewed was with Dr. Downey some time ago. So, good morning.
Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Just for any of the folks that haven't had a chance to watch the interview that you did with Dr. Downey some time ago, we just like to start off with a little bit of your origin story. How did you get to where you are? What steps brought you to become Heidi Cox personal trainer?
So I think my origin story is pretty simple. I've always liked being active. I was a competitive figure skater in my youth. And I always have rooted for the underdog. I always felt like the underdog in my life. And so I always thought, let's lift other people up, which turned out I really started loving teaching and getting involved and helping other people feel good. So that's what brought me to where I am today. I just really like to bring people up and have them feel their best, feel good and healthy.
That's really kind. That's very whole person.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not just a personal trainer. You own your own business. You have 2 studios. Tell us a little bit about where you are here in Alaska.
So yes, I have a personal training and nutrition coaching studio. It's one-on-one by appointment only on Pioneer Drive in the Kachemak Center in Homer. And then I also own the Anchor Point Gym, which is just a small members only gym in the Anchor Point area.
Wow, that's cool. That's really cool. So clients can come anytime really that they want to in Anchor Point, and then they can meet with you one-on-one here in Homer.
Yep, that's right.
Very cool. All right. Thanks so much. What were you doing before you became a personal trainer?
I was a stay-at-home mom. That's what I did when I moved to Homer. But prior to that, I did work in other gyms. But then prior to that, I was a 911 and police dispatcher for several years.
Wow. Right in the heart of the action.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, thanks for that. Some time has passed since your podcast interview with Dr. Downey. So in what ways has your philosophy changed since your visit back then?
I don't think my philosophy has changed too much. I've always been in it for the person and understanding everyone individually. I think where things may have changed is that I crave more information. I crave more education to be able to pass that along to other people. So really, approaching the whole person has always been my philosophy, but I think coming at it now with more to offer as I've grown is really where it's all at.
Oh, that's really terrific.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about the things that you've learned and, just all the information that you've gathered ever since that podcast. So what are you excited about sharing at this time?
A lot of my coaching is really based off of a lot of my own personal experiences. I see people going through certain things in their life, and I want to understand how it works, what we can do to help them feel better. So that's really helped me evolve into a better trainer by understanding what's actually happening in people's lives instead of guessing. So I'm really excited now to be venturing into perimenopausal education, postmenopausal education, everything that deals with women's issues and women's health. But then on the offhand too, I still have all of that background that I can pretty much work with anybody to help them reach their goals. But
Do you
right
work
now,
with men and women?
yes, definitely men and women. But yeah, I am excited now to start venturing off into that realm of education.
Right. Yeah, there is a lot of information coming out about a lot of things, but certainly the perimenopausal and menopausal stages of life, and then those equivalent stages of life for men, because men go through similar things, of course, in their own way, having their own unique biology. But as we age, we definitely start to notice some changes. I've noticed it myself, and it's been a challenge.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, your clients are
I can
really
say
lucky
that
to
as
have
well.
you. Your clients
Right.
are really lucky to have you really taking an interest in that and really trying to help navigate them through that because it can be really an uncertain time.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't. There's so much misinformation out there. People are quick to believe a quick 30-second TikTok on what they should and shouldn't be doing when everybody is so individual and everybody's biologies are so different to some degree that it really needs to be the right information at the right time for that person.
Yeah, timing is important. I'm really glad you mentioned that. There's certainly something to be said about being able to be in the right space and it being the right time for a person to hear what they need to hear.
Yep. And I'm a big proponent on pulling in a team too. I mean, I work individually with people and men and women, but if I feel like we need to branch out to other professionals to make their life better and their life healthier, again, thinking the whole person, then
Mhm.
I am all about bringing in team members to support that client.
Yeah, I really love that. Yeah, truly the whole person care. Um,
Mhm.
as as far as yourself, what are you focusing on personally and professionally now in this stage of your life?
Oh, right now, I want to start having fun. So that's where I'm at. My kids are practically grown. So now I want to do, for personally, I want to do some traveling. I want to do some events that I've never done before. I want to also challenge my body in ways that I haven't since my body is changing now that I am in my mid 40s. I'd like to see what it can do at this point. Professionally, I don't think I'll ever not work with people. I really do love that. Professionally, I would love to see my reach be broad, be a little bit more broad than it is. I would love to get into motivational speaking. I would love to have more clients outside of Alaska because, the more knowledge out there, the better. So that is, I think, the goal would be just to have a broader reach with the education for others.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm really excited to see where all of your aspirations take you.
I know, me too. I have no idea.
Part of the fun is finding out, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So what are some of the reasons that people seek out a personal trainer?
The number one reason I hear is accountability. People want someone to help them and to keep them accountable for their programs. So accountability is number one. Number two is education. We all know what we should be doing, but are we doing the right thing for our body? Are we making the right choices for the goals that we have? So that's my job, is to be the guide while they lead me down the path. So that's the way I describe it when I have a consultation. I'm very client led. I have them tell me where they want to go, and then I teach them how to do it safely and correctly and with the right tools. So it would be accountability, it'll be education, and then of course, you know, just that would be it actually. Just those two main reasons, because everything else just really falls into place once we get that figured out. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the accountability and the education part of things. It certainly helps me to have somebody I'm checking in with and letting know that I'm going to meet there or meeting there at the gym to get me there because I feel like I really owe it to them to show up.
Yeah, right. Accountability is huge. And then, also too, just to kind of to build off of that, the comment about the education, I've had people come in here and say, well, I followed this workout video and I hurt myself.
Mhm.
So there's that too, I mean, teaching proper form, teaching the body mechanics, especially if they're working through an injury. I really do love that part of it too, helping them figure out what works best.
Right. It's not all about results. It's about safety and having
Yes,
some fun along the way too.
totally. And we have way too much fun in here. Yeah.
Sounds like my kind of place.
I like it.
What are some questions that you would recommend that somebody ask themselves before they go reach out to consult with a personal trainer?
So there's three questions that I always ask. Are they ready? Are they willing? And are they able? When those three questions are answered, then that gives me an idea of where their head's at. So are they ready? Are they ready to step into something totally foreign? Are they ready to be out of their comfort zone in a safe way? Because that's where we change is stepping out of that comfort zone. And I usually use that on a scale of 1, not ready, 10, 100% in. And that one has to be a 10 because anything less, there is doubt, and that can create a little bit of a mess and people may not follow through. Now, are they willing? Are they willing to put themselves out there? Are you willing to trust the process? Are you willing to, again, get out of that comfort zone? I need that to be a 10 as well. I'm not going to put anybody in harm's way, but I need them to be ready to try something that they've never tried before
Mhm.
in a different way. All coaches are different. Even if they've had a coach in the past or a personal trainer, I guarantee you my method may not be the same as theirs, other trainers. So, and then able. This one usually people are most hesitant because they don't know what their ability is. So they're like, I don't know if I'm able to do it.
Mhm.
And I always tell people, I know you're able to do it because I'm never going to ask someone to do that I don't know that they can't do. We work with that and then we build off of that to make it better and better and better. So those are the three questions: ready, willing, and able. I have long discussions with consultations over those questions so that they can understand that, yeah, they can do all of those, but they really need to be able to do it. They really need to be able to honestly say that those are tens. Otherwise, they're probably not quite ready yet to step into this type of program.
Mhm. That makes a lot of sense. Preparedness, it's really all about the timing again, like we were talking about earlier. The timing has to be right.
Exactly. And I've fallen into that myself. So, I
Yes.
mean, I get it. We're just human, but I just those are the questions, and then I help them sort through it.
Yeah. Well, we don't always know if it's the right time or not until we dip our toes in and then we realize, okay, maybe later, or nope, now's the time. I'm going all in.
Yep, exactly. That's why I always do consultations before I take any clients, um, because that's where we discover whether they are ready to dip their toes in, or maybe if they need a little bit more time. So consultations are a requirement before I take any clients.
Right. Yeah. Get a feel for whether or not it'll be a good fit.
And I tell them that too. I said, you may not like my personality. I'm a little wacky. So if you're not feeling it, I will not take that personally. But pretty much we're always working together because we just have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It
Yeah.
definitely sounds like it. How do you help people set expectations for themselves?
Um, so when someone will come in and they hire me, they will tell me what they want. I want to lose weight. I want to get stronger. I need to work through this injury. So I'm really, really upfront with everyone, depending on their goal. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Say weight loss, for example, I'll say, this is going to take some time. So this is what I expect. If we follow the program, then, and every program that I create for my clients is completely individualized. There will never be a cookie cutter situation with anybody. So once I present them with what the start will be, then, I would say, if we're able to follow this along, you can expect X, Y, and Z. And then we just kind of mold and change. But I do tell them right from the start that, starting something new, as well as, trying to address something that's taken years to create. Not that I keep their expectations low, but I keep their expectations realistic. And then that way we have success every single day. So I know that's kind of a roundabout way to answer that question, but it is really individualized. So I can't say exactly because it's different for everybody.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. And sometimes the expectations have to be adjusted just based on,
Yep.
well, hey, that doesn't look like we're going to meet it. And that's okay. We can just adjust the expectation. Maybe we need to aim higher. Maybe we need to aim a little more gentle.
Absolutely. And everyone's coming in a different way. And I
Yeah.
meet them where they're at. So
Yeah. I think that's pretty important is just to really understand that you can't impose expectations on people.
Yep, everybody has to come up with their own because
Right.
then they will be more likely to be successful when it is their choice.
Right.
I guide them and I educate them, and I'm that cheerleader saying, okay, you can do this. You can do this. You've done hard things before. You can do this.
Right. Right. So how does what you do tie into whole person care? We've covered it a little bit, but
Yeah. Whole person care. So again, based off of my experience in working, I've been professionally training people in some capacity for over 20 years now. And how I see it, I see it as a triangle. We've got mental health on the top, we've got our physical health, and then we've got our nutritional health. And when all of those are balanced, we really can have a great quality of life. So when it comes to the whole person, and we work on how to improve them physically. We work in the kitchen to how can we support both physical and mental. And then, of course, the mental aspect of it. I do goal coaching with people. If we come up on something that might be out of scope for me, then I refer out to, trusted providers. And we work through all of this together to be able to address the whole person mentally, physically, and nutritionally. So it is not just a come in and do a workout. It's really full support, 100% support all the time while you're a client.
right. Well, I really appreciate that. 100% support.
Yep, all the time.
We all need that.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say a balanced week of movement would look like for an average person? I think that on Instagram and Facebook, all the social media, we see the extremes. And
Yes.
I really feel like it's important to take into consideration that most of us are working a job, have families, have outside obligations. And so what would you say would be a reasonable expectation for the average person for some movement during the week?
So what I would say is if it's somebody who's just average, who's just wanting, to get movement, repeating that for my brain, I would focus on NEAT. So that's an acronym for non-exercise activity thermogenics. Simply what that means is adding more movement throughout your day, because at the end of the day, it all adds up. So what that means, someone who's working a 9 to 5, so, set your timer on your watch for every hour, every 30 minutes, whatever it might be for you, and then get up and walk 10 circles in your office, walk down the hallway and back. That adds up. I have a client here in Homer that we have added on Saturdays for her to go up and down the steps at her business 5 extra times that day. Stuff like that. If they're going into the gym, then looking at a reasonable, doable time frame. So if you only have 20 minutes, 20 minutes in the gym is so much better than 0 minutes in the gym.
Right.
So you don't have to do a whole hour. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. Anything counts. It all counts.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
simply adding more NEAT, adding more movement. I have another client who is extremely busy in her office, and she works with children, and so she's a therapist. So when she's moving, helping her children move around, she'll have them all, okay, let's all do squats together. And so now she's doing her squats that she wanted to do, but she's involving the children in her occupation and getting her movement in at the same time. So you have to be really creative. But the average person, I would first start with what would it look like if you added more movement, and just start with that.
Yeah.
On a nutritional level, I mean, that would be where do you feel like you need to improve? And then maybe just start on that one task and then build off of that.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say they felt a really big difference and even lost a little bit of weight just by drinking more water.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. More water. I mean, I would say 80% of us out here are chronically dehydrated. I could probably put myself in that category this week.
We
So
stay so busy.
exactly. So yeah, so more water. Also, understanding what hunger cues look like. When are you actually hungry? When are you actually full? That can be a huge thing too. People will lose weight when they start to understand what hunger cues feel like. That is also one thing that I coach. So yeah.
It can be really hard. I think that the society today is just wired so that we no longer listen to what our body needs and wants. We're getting these extra portions served to us, and there's just so much information about eating 3 times a day, fasting, eating 2 times a day, eating 6 times a day. It's just, I
Yep.
think, as a whole, as we become adults, we really lose touch with the intuitive signals that our body sends us since the day we were born, and we just unlearn them. And it's really important to be able to learn them again.
Yes, I agree. While everyone is different and their nutrition will always be different, see, fasting works for some, but not for others, whatever that might look like. I did have another client in here who said, man, at 9:30 p.m., I am really hungry, but I have to stop eating at 7 or I won't lose weight. And I said, no, 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 no. We need to get in touch with how your body's actually operating. And if it is really hungry at 9:30, it's okay to have a mini meal because
Mhm.
you're honoring those hunger cues and you are responding to what your body is naturally biologically supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it is. You have to unlearn some habits, and what works for one person may not work for the other. So it's very, very unique in how that can be designed.
Yeah. That's really key is that we're all really different.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions you see about cardiovascular exercise, strength training, and nutrition?
Well, nutrition misconception. So again, that one's a hard. All of them are hard to answer because it's so different. But one thing I see the most is you eat less to lose weight. Now, while that is true, according to the law of thermogenics, it is true. The less you eat, the more weight you'll lose. It really depends on the goal of that person. Because if they're wanting to do a body recomposition, you have to actually be eating more because you need to support that muscle growth. But you can do it in such a way that you can also drop some of that body fat at the same time. So, so eating is very individual for the goal. The workouts, again, a misconception. If I can't put in an hour, it's not worth doing. That I don't know where the magic number came for that hour, but really just anything is better than nothing. Oh, and I would also say too that another thing that people for nutrition have been told by providers and myself included, this is a provider in the past, well, if you eat 1,200 calories, you'll lose weight. I don't know where they got the 1,200 calories either, where they've picked that number, but for pretty much 90% of the population, that is way too low to be eating. So, so there is a lot of misinformation out there. And then what is the perfect exercise? Well, I better do that because it's the perfect exercise. No, the perfect exercise is what works for your body, and it's different. It's so different. I like some things and other people look at me like I'm crazy because you like that. I'm thinking, so yeah. So just there's a lot of misconceptions out there that we're seeing constantly and being fed.
Yeah, one that I've heard a lot is that if you lift, you get bigger, and that's just not necessarily the case. If
Ah,
you want to, you can, but
that is a very, very specific way of lifting and eating, very specific. And many, many women have come in and said, well, I don't want to bulk up. And I said, don't worry, you're not. What we're going to do is build beautiful muscle and where you feel your confidence go up and you feel your, everything tighten up. So it's yes, that is a good one. That's a
yeah.
good one.
I have not found that to be the case myself, thankfully. So it's nice. I just I feel like I've gotten stronger when I've lifted weights. So it's
Yep.
nice.
Yep. Same.
I think one of the most frequent challenges that come up here in the clinic with me is the importance of behavior change and how difficult that is. And so how do you educate clients? How do you work with them about building habits and then trusting the process?
That's a really great question because I think people struggle with that the most. So going into their goals, I always allow them to choose what the highest priority is for them.
Mhm.
And then from that priority on that goal, then we will start creating tiny little habits that are doable. For example, a client I have wants to start drinking water, and really, she's only drinking probably like 16 ounces a day right now. So we're just going to build up the habit to 20 ounces and then 24 ounces. So most people are successful when you do baby steps.
Mhm.
That's the big thing there. Behavior change is repetitiveness, consistency, also that self-talk too. I can do this. I know how to do this. I am a weightlifter. You see yourself in that position already, even if you've never touched a dumbbell.
Mhm.
I am a weightlifter. I am someone that eats healthy. And then you start believing it. Your brain is very, very interesting. And so once you start taking baby step habits and you start believing in who you are, that can be the first step for some people. But behavior change is very hard. I also offer worksheets that we work through together, and other tools that we bring in to kind of see big picture and then tackle things as they come.
Yeah. Behavior change is so tough because it's not something you can buy from the store.
Yep.
And it's just something that happens over a long period of time. And the only result that you see is like you look back and you see that you've done the behavior over time, but it just feels like there's just no immediate gratification for it. And I think that's what makes it so challenging.
And that's true. So one reason that programs don't work for people, or they don't seem to work for people, is that they'll get excited about a program, they'll start a new thing, it'll be
Mhm.
really, really good, they'll roll with it, but then now they're not seeing instant results. So then it's not working now, right? When it's consistency of that repetitiveness, that is what will get results. And when you are sitting in a good program and then you start feeling that maybe it's getting a little boring, you have to stay there because now you are beyond the motivation, and the habits have to keep you going and keep consistent. Then things will start changing. So well, I did this and it didn't work, and then I did that and it didn't work, and I did this and it didn't work. They didn't give a lot of that a fair chance to work because it takes time. We heal from the inside out. So
Yeah.
as everything is healing on the inside, our outside takes a little bit of time to catch up. That is something I'm very clear about when I do consultations, since we go off of other matrix, not the scale,
Mhm.
not the measurements, not yet.
Yeah, I really like that approach. It's really not about the scale. So much of it really has to do with how a person is feeling physically and mentally. And I have folks come in and they're frustrated because their weight's really not moving very much. But then I ask them, like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling better? Are you sleeping better? And then they think about it for a bit and they go, I do have more energy and I am sleeping better. And that's not always. I don't want to make it sound like this perfect fairy tale picture. It's a challenge. It's really rough. It's really hard. And it's not always, it's never this really straightforward process for people, right? It's very dynamic. It's always changing. But
Absolutely.
when we try to think about other goals that we're trying to accomplish outside of the scale, I think it can really help people realize, like, I actually am getting better and there are results here that I'm not seeing, that I'm not really noticing because I'm not really specifically targeting those.
Exactly. I had an individual in here this week, um, bloated, brain fog, joints are achy, not sleeping well. And I was like, well, that's pointing to a lot of inflammation.
Mhm.
So We're not going to look at the scale. We're not doing pictures or measurements right now. What we're going to do is how can we bring in good food and a consistent schedule, good sleeping routine, downtime. This person has a really stressful job. All of this, we're going to bring in all of that to hopefully simmer that body down and allow it to heal. And then we can focus on more an aesthetic angle. But right now, let's tame that inside. And this individual is really, really wanting to just feel better at this point.
I hear that a lot. I just want to feel better. And I think that if we can, you and I talked recently about really helping people ask more questions and narrow down what do you mean by that? Like you use the example of the young man in the gym who wants to look like the big buff bodybuilder. And it's like, well, why? And so,
Exactly.
and
So
so
that's that.
You help people get to their why.
I do, I do. And that can get really emotional sometimes. So when we start a program or start anything, I'm always asking, why? Why do you want to be here? And the example, that I gave you was there was a gentleman in the gym watching the bodybuilder, and the bodybuilder is big and buff and like has all of his stuff together, right? So the young man said, "Hey, I want to look like you." And the bodybuilder says, "Well, why?" And he said, "Because I, want to look amazing because I want to get a girlfriend." He's like, "Well, why do you want to get a girlfriend?" And after they had this back and forth of asking the question, well, why do you want to do that? Well, because of this. Well, why do you want to do this? The bottom line was this young gentleman wanted to have children. And so he had to be married. He needed a wife to have a family. And that's why he wanted to look good, because he wanted to attract a mate.
Yeah.
So that was his like raw reason of why he wanted to look good. So when we're up here, well, I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, why, until we get down to that real reason. So when you don't have motivation and you're feeling stuck, I want you to bring up that raw emotional reason of why, because if it is deep enough, if it really hits you in your soul, then you're going to keep going.
Yeah.
It is going to be the driver that is going to keep you moving until that next burst of motivation comes in.
Right. Yeah. Motivation waxes and wanes.
It does. And so discovering why you want to do anything in your life, it can be anything. You can use that example for anything. But when you get down to the raw emotion of it, then that will be enough to keep you moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really poignant. Definitely. And really reflecting back on the why when things get hard and you get tired of it, and it gets boring and it's just dark out and it's cold and you don't want to go out and get to the gym.
Yep. Exactly. And I always tell people, well, I missed my gym workout because I just didn't feel like it. And I'm like, the hardest part is actually stepping foot into the gym. But once you get there, you can, you'll feel much better.
Yeah.
So
I've really never regretted a workout once I've gotten myself there.
even a bad workout is always a
Yeah.
good workout. It
Yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah.
to some degree.
Yeah, yeah, I really appreciate that. You've mentioned working with people who've been injured, and so I think that there is a loss of trust or a feeling like I've heard people say so often, I just feel like my body's broken or it's betraying me. And so,
Mhm.
how do you help somebody rebuild trust with their body after they've been injured or after they've gotten really burned out?
Starting slow, starting
Yeah.
slow. So now if I am working with someone who has an injury and say they graduated from personal, or I'm sorry, from PT, from their, physical, um, oh my gosh, what's the word?
Physical therapy?
Thank you, therapy. I'm like, I want to say train. Okay. So when they graduate from their physical therapy, they'll usually come over to me to begin a more strenuous program to continue what they're doing. I will work with the physical therapist, get a release of information so that I can see what they're doing and then talk with the individual. And then I'll build off of that in such a way that continues their program, but they're allowed to keep advancing. So that would be a physical therapy patient situation. When somebody's come in and they're like, I used to do this, I used to do that, I was able to do this, then, I mean, the passion is there and our muscles have memory. Those cells remember what we've done. So then I take into account what they loved doing, and then I rebuild it from the ground up and create what they loved, but then start moving them up in increments so that they are not only successful, we're not doing any more injuries, we're not hurting anybody, we're not burning out, but they're just like, oh, this feels so good, I remember. And then eventually, the goal is always to get them to a capacity that they're just like, oh, I feel good now.
Yeah. How do you respond when somebody tells you they feel like their body's betraying them?
First, the way I would respond is how. Let's discover what is betraying them. What part of their body is it the mind? Is it the muscles? Is it something else? Then we take the proper action from there. So if it's something that needs to be addressed with a team, then we will do that. Bottom line is there's always a way for improvement.
Mhm.
So depending on what their answer to me would be, it would be discovering ways to rebuild what they feel that they've lost or that they're feeling betrayed about. That one, I know that's a little bit of a broad answer too. I'm trying to like pick through my brain specifics where I have dealt with that, but it's very much, I would need to know why. What do they feel is betraying them?
Right.
And then build a program off of that.
I don't think it's an easy question to answer. And I think
That one is
a
hard, yeah.
broad response is very appropriate in this situation. Like, how do you respond? You absolutely want to validate that person, but also, I feel like it's important for us to really try to accept our bodies wherever we are in our journey, and really rather than look at it as like a betrayal or a failure, it is responding to something. It's responding to something that's happening. And so if we can think of it as a response to that instead of like it's betraying me, because our body is really actually trying its very best to help us survive and thrive,
Right.
despite some of our failings and our shortcomings.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So I'd be asking a lot of questions
Yeah.
and just trying to dig down to the root of the issue, honestly, to see what's going on. And then we would go from there.
Yeah, I think so. Just asking for more information and trying to get a feel for where they're coming from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Um, we talked about social media a little bit earlier, and I myself am drawn to social media and the next kind of bright, shiny thing. How do you help people navigate all the information that's out there, whether it be on social media or, everything's really cleverly disguised as something very professional and very polished these days, and it's hard to know what's what.
So what I do when I see all of this on there, I just start researching. If
Mhm.
there's something that I find that is intriguing to me, um, don't take it at face value, not yet. Discover and explore and research what that might be just to be sure it is correct information. There are a lot of scientific, well-written journals out there, information websites that can either verify or disprove whatever might be out there. But social media is hard, especially if it looks super professional. I would just always question just and a good example of that would be a lot of these supplement companies that are pumping out supplements all the time. This one's going to be the magic pill for X, Y, and Z. If something's going to promise you something really extravagant and amazing, 100% question immediately, because again, everybody is so individual, and what works for one person may not work, most likely will not work for another. So, it's kind of identifying what needs to be looked into. Anything promising, I guarantee this amount of weight lost in this amount of time, proven results. I mean, that can be true, but what is the time frame they're looking at? I've seen, build a big butt by just, kicking your leg back a couple times a day. And I'm like, not so much, have the flattest stomach by putting your feet on the wall and doing hip bridges, which don't actually even really address your stomach. But question, question, question. And, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So dig a little deeper.
And bring it to a trusted resource like yourself.
Yes. Oh, yes, please. I mean, my number is all over. Anybody can text me questions anytime they want. So, and I do get questions, especially about supplements that are promising, balanced hormones and, solve all of your perimenopausal and postmenopausal problems. I'm like, this would be when we would bring in a provider to start doing a little bit deeper digging. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of that, where can people go to find you? You've got your studios, you've got your
Yep.
point. Yeah. So
yep.
How can we find you?
So pretty easily, my business name here in Homer is Changing Tides Alaska Inc. I'm on Facebook. I do have a website, which is changingtidesfitness.com. So you can find me there. I'm located in the Kachemak Center on Pioneer Drive underneath fitness studio nutrition coaching sign in the double doors. Grab my card from the hallway. So that could be a way to get a hold of me there. If you're in the Anchor Point area, then anchorpointgym.com is my website for the gym there. And of course, I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, both places. So a lot of that, anybody can stop in anytime. And they're welcome to call or text me. And yeah, I'm pretty much all over everywhere. You can find me if you really want to.
Well, that's great. It's been really a pleasure. And I thank you and I thank our audience for being with us today. And I just really appreciate your efforts to help people navigate health and wellness and physical well-being and mental well-being in a healthy, safe, and sustainable way.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for the Seaworthy podcast. Seaworthy exists to help people overcome their health challenges and be fully vital. If you think we've earned it, please consider giving this podcast a like, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star rating on the platform of your choice. Thanks.